Here are the top 4 ways to bankrupt your family farm operation. Now, after talking to thousands of farm operations from across the country, we've really discovered there are 4 key things here that are leading a lot of these operations to bankruptcy. And inside of today's video, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Now, the first reason that is leading people to bankruptcy inside today's industry is their unwillingness to change. Now, if you are, a similar age to me, you've seen this happening with your parents or your grandparents. Thinking back to my granddad and how old school he was, the number one reason that our farm operation went under back in the early 2000s is because honestly he was still trying to do things and run things like it was in the 60s or 70s, and obviously that did not work into today's environment. Now the thing is though is that things have even gotten more risky and more expensive since the early 2000s coming into 2025 that we're currently operating in now. And if you are not willing to change or adapt or do things differently inside of your operation, it's honestly not a question of if you'll fail, it's when you will fail. Because in today's age, this is a non-negotiable. You have to be willing to adapt, you have to be willing to change, and the longer you avoid doing this, the more pain you're going to cause your family and your operation, but ultimately the faster that you are going to face bankruptcy one day, which is obviously what we want to avoid inside of this conversation. Now, the reason that a majority of people are unwilling to change is because when you are accepting and wanting to change, it means you have to be willing to expose the problems that you have inside the operation. And as a man, speaking from that viewpoint, man, it's tough for us when we're the providers of our family and really the leaders inside of the business to expose the fact that, hey, we've made mistakes, right? There's things that we have done or decisions that we have made that ultimately cost the operation maybe tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Some of you, maybe it's millions of dollars there. And for a lot of men, it's hard to get past that emotional hurdle in your mind to take accountability and just be okay with, hey, I've made mistakes. As a business owner, I've been doing this for decades and I have made mistakes that have ultimately put us in this position right now. But the only way to actually move forward is you first have to accept accountability. You have to be willing to look at all the problems instead of trying to hide them, because this is what we found with a lot of people. When they come into Legacy Farmer, a lot of people, the reason that they've came in is because going through talking to our team or listening to some of my videos and stuff like that, they've gotten past that emotional hurdle where they've finally accepted that, hey, it's okay that I'm not perfect. It's okay that I've made mistakes. It's okay that I haven't done everything, perfectly, and I've just had some losses along the way. But guess what? In order to grow and build the operation you want, we have to expose all those problems, all those mistakes, because that lays the foundation for us to actually now build off of, versus trying to spend a lot of your life hiding those problems or just pretending those mistakes never happened, which is what we deal with a lot with the older generation, unfortunately. And I'll talk about it. My parents would have been the same way, my dad especially, but also too my granddad. He never wanted to expose any problem or mistake that he had, never really wanted to take accountability for these things. And that right there is a recipe for long-term disaster inside of your operation. And this is why at this point number 1 here, your unwillingness to change is the first and honestly the most problematic thing that leads a lot of operations to bankruptcy long-term. Now, what's disappointing about this though is that if my grandfather would have had just different characteristics and a different attitude on these things, and he would have been willing to change and adopting and changing with the times and the economic environments that he went through, man, our operation would probably still be going, and it would be a completely different picture in reality for my family today. Now, the second reason that leads a lot of family farm operations to bankruptcy is taking the wrong advice from others. Now, when I'm talking about this, obviously I am somebody that's speaking an opinion. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to share experiences and lessons that I've learned from working with hundreds of family farm operations. And some people, they can take my advice, but I don't want to call it that. Now, the reason this specific issue is a problem in the industry is because we have a lot of people taking advice and counsel from people that are not where they want to be financially, or people that are honestly fans in the stands versus a player in the game like you and me. So for example, I will never take counsel or financial advice from somebody who is not on the field in the game of business with me, because when you're a business owner, the stress, the anxiety, the worry, the responsibilities, the pressure that you feel is completely different, right? Now, I'll compare this to like working with your banker, for example. A lot of people inside of the ag industry look at their banker as a trusted advisor. Now, I'm not saying that they're not great people, that they don't care about your operation or things like that. What I'm saying is the weight and the responsibility that they feel is completely different from what you feel as a business owner. And this is why when it comes to picking who I'm taking business counsel or financial advice from, I need to be making sure I'm surrounding myself with people that are either at where I want to be in the game of business, or they're on the field with me. Maybe they're in their own operation or in their own side of their business or whatever that may be there. I'm making sure I'm talking to people that are in the game with me so they understand the pressure, the anxiety, the stress, and the responsibility that I have as a business owner. And those people inside of small communities are very tough to find. So people will take business counsel from like their banker, their accountant, for example. But then even worse than that, people will take counsel from friends and family that may just be working a job in town. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But again, though, too, I'm not going to take counsel from somebody where I pay pay their annual salary in expenses on a weekly basis, right? It's just a completely different ball game. And this is why people's relationship with money and how they perceive these things is super important here. And this is why, again, you want to be making sure you're talking to somebody that's in the same game as you and not a fan in the stands, because your parents or your family that work W-2 jobs, or your banker that's also working a W-2 job, or your accountant that may be working a W-2 job, yes, they want you to succeed, but they are fans in the stands. They do not understand the stress, the weight, and the responsibility that you feel, because you cannot experience that unless you are in the business owner seat inside of your operation. Now, the other point from this is I'm not saying to not listen to your banker or your accountant. Now, as a business owner, though, you can use the information that these people are giving you to feed into the ultimate decision. But I've seen so many people over the years making a massive financial decision based off of one thing their banker said or their accountant said. It is your responsibility as the business owner to know overall what decision you want to make, but then you can go maybe get individual details or questions answered on finances, for example, from your accountant or your banker that are going to contribute or validate the decision that you are trying to make as a business owner. We are not letting them participate and give us their opinion on what decision we should make, or should we buy this piece of ground, or anything like that. It's your responsibility as a business owner to already know the numbers well enough and already have things structured and organized to where you already know whether or not it is the best decision to be pulling the trigger on buying this piece of ground, for example, or whatever that may be, and where you can just pull in this individual information, again, that's serving or contributing to your bigger financial decision that you're looking to make. As a business owner, it is my responsibility and it is your responsibility to be leading and making those decisions on the business, but also too to have the knowledge and skill sets across every area of my business so that I can go to these people that may be able to give me a little bit of information there to validate my decision and help me decide whether or not it's the right one or the wrong one for my business. All right, guys, now the third topic here is not having a legacy or estate plan set up. Now, unfortunately, this is a massive, massive problem in the industry. With the hundreds of family farm operations that have come into legacy farm over the years, I can literally count on one hand the amount of people that actually had a full estate plan set up. Now, the reason this is important is because a lot of people have come in that have been in the middle of lawsuits with siblings, or in the middle of trying to figure out how to buy out their operation from their siblings because their parents did not go through and set up the right estate plan, right? And your estate plan is not just a will. A will is one document within an entire estate plan. There's a whole process that has to happen here. But a lot of people, they want to avoid doing this because they fear the conflict that it might have in their family and stuff like that. And I can promise you, if you are a parent watching this and you're trying to figure out how do I divide up assets between my kids and make the right decisions here and everything like that, not doing this is going to cost your kids so much more long-term, financially, emotionally. There's going to be a lot of resentment there. It's just going to cost them a lot more by you not being willing to do what needs to be done and to have these tough conversations today. But also too, I've seen customers come in and get things structured and organized and then take the necessary steps to get their estate plan set up. And they go through having these tough conversations and making these hard decisions. And just the relief that these people feel, the weight that drops off their shoulders there once they have this plan in place and know that they have an estate plan set up. So when they do inevitably pass on one day, everything is good to go and everybody's been told exactly what they're getting. There's just a massive level of stress that you are removing from your body there. These people, they're going to be set up for so much more success long term because they have this plan in place. And so it is your responsibility, once again, as the business owner, make sure you have the courage to do what needs to be done. And this is one of the biggest things and most important things that we see is not happening in the industry that is going to result in thousands of family farm operations going out of business because they are not willing to have these tough conversations and simply get an estate and legacy plan set up for your operation. All right, guys, now finally moving into point number 4 here that leads people to bankruptcy inside of this industry. And that is very simply not having structured and organized finances. Now, guys, I know I say this in all my videos, but man, it is such an important foundational piece to any and every business decision that you make. If you are looking at making a multi-million-dollar or even multi-$100,000 decision, doesn't really matter. If you're doing this and you don't have clean data that you're using to make that decision, you're essentially shooting blind, right? You are driving the operation blind here, hoping and praying that things work out long term. And this is where a lot of people are at today. And this is why the number one thing that we do in Legacy Farmer first is get businesses separated, get sources of income separated, and then put together detailed financials on each and every business. That way you know what's making you money and then what's losing you money. Now, again, this is going to give you a lot more clarity and confidence in making these financial decisions. You're no longer going to be in a place where you want to buy something or maybe expand your acres or whatever that is. You're no longer going to be in a place where you're wondering, hey, do I need to go check with my banker on this? You already have the ability and the structure and the organization and the numbers where you already know exactly what the bank's going to say. You already know what your accountant's going to say from a tax liability standpoint. This is the level of confidence that we want our members inside of Legacy Farmer to experience here. And this is why we're helping them master their numbers at a detailed level. But now let's carry this into other issues here as well. The numbers, when you have this foundation in place, it's going to contribute and help you with all the other problems that we talked about in today's video. Number one was unwillingness to change. I guarantee you, when you have the numbers right in front of your face and they are telling you either what you are doing right now is working or not working, if it's not working, guarantee you that is going to help you overcome the emotional hurdles to make the changes that you need to inside of the business. Point two was taking bad advice from others. Well, if you know your numbers at a detailed level, you're now in the position where you're just searching for individual pieces of information, maybe from other people, that are going to contribute to the overall decision that you're trying to make. But again, this is the power that you have when you have this level of detail inside of your numbers and you know them at a deep level. And then number three, once you have the numbers structured and organized, now all of a sudden we have a good idea on the type of estate plan that we can put together and how things will be divvied up. And you're able to show this in proof in the numbers to your kids or whoever you're looking to distribute assets to, and show them exactly how you're coming to your overall decisions, and make sure that everybody knows the numbers and nobody's out there creating stories in their mind or feeling like they were left out or anything like that. Guys, just the foundation of the numbers is going to help you so much across every area of your life. And just from a personal standpoint for you, and this is just because I've seen this so many times over the years, when people get their numbers structured and organized, there's a massive weight lifted off of their shoulders. You see people transform overnight because they just don't have that stress anymore. And for the first time, when they get their structure and organization, they're excited about the future of their operation, where they can go, because now they know they have a hold of the numbers, they know where they're at, and now every decision they make going forward is going to be different now, because they're no longer living in the land of hoping and praying or guessing with every financial decision. Now guys, obviously we don't want anybody to be facing bankruptcy inside of this country, but the reality is more and more people are going to face it every single year, the longer they continue to run their farm operation without clear financials. Now, this is the biggest reason that we started Legacy Farmer, was to help people get structured and organized with their finances, so they're no longer living in this world of chaos and disorganization. And finally, they get to experience a world of financial confidence and clarity for the first time in their life, which is proven to add massive value to our customers, but ultimately change the trajectory of their farm operation forever. Now, if you want to learn more about our process, our team, and about Legacy Farmer, click the link below and we'll see if it's a fit for you and your operation.